It's always a relief when you see that you have a full panel, particularly one as distinguished as this. This session has a very, very long title, but you can see that quite a large element of it is about the thing that which we've been discussing off and on or for the whole of the last day, which is the contribution of artificial intelligence in education, whilst keeping the focus on learning. And the material question here, how can we help shape AI development such that it supports students, teachers and education and keeps our focus on learning, is obviously an absolutely critical one. And one of the things that's clear is that quite often smaller countries have a higher degree possibly of agility when it comes to adaptation, largely because the institutions are not so big and maybe not quite so entrenched and so on. So I'm very interested to hear today what our speakers have to say. Our first speaker will be Ismail Shafeu, who's the Minister of Education for the Republic of Maldives, who I know have got projects ongoing in this field. Our second speaker will be Professor Angela Jacek-Stojanovic, who's the Minister of Education, Science and Innovation for Montenegro. I just have to tell you that I once spent, as a 21-year-old, a night on the bench at the bus station in what was then Titograd, and is now not Titograd anymore, and so on. So I have fond memories of your country in many, many ways. And Rustam Karimyonov, who's the Deputy Minister of Digital Technologies for Uzbekistan. So welcome to you all very much. And then Charles Radman, who's the Head of Worldwide Education at HP. And they'll be speaking in that order. They'll be coming to this podium. What you can't see is that we've got a lovely timer in front of them. So they've all got 9 minutes standing in front of them. And it counts down gradually to 0. And then it goes into the red. And so on. And if it goes into the red, for every 10 seconds you're in the red, your country's fined €1 million. Actually, that's not true at all. It just tells you that maybe this is the time to think about wrapping up. But first, I'd like to invite Ismail Shafeu to take the podium and to begin his presentation. Thank you so much.
Respected ministers and distinguished delegates, in a world where artificial intelligence is becoming more prevalent in our daily lives, the domain of education emerges as a pivotal frontier for embracing this transformative technology. I am Ismail Shafeu from the Maldives. I am representing the Ministry of Education of Republic of Maldives. Today, I am honored to address you on the critical topic of optimizing artificial intelligence in education. As we stand on the face of this digital revolution, it is imperative that we explore how to shape our learning and teaching practices to seamlessly integrate AI while maintaining a resolute commitment to fostering learning outcomes. Join me as we delve into the opportunities and challenges presented by AI in education and how we can leverage this technology to unlock the possibilities for learning worldwide. Firstly, the integration of AI in education presents immense potential to revolutionize learning experiences, catering to the individual needs of students and streamlining administrative tasks. However, it is vital that we ensure the ethical and transparent utilization of AI, with the goal of enhancing educators rather than replacing them. By harnessing AI-driven insights, educators can personalize teaching strategies, accommodate the diverse needs of students, fostering inclusivity and enhancing the equity of education. In such AI-integrated setting, educators are empowered to provide tailored interventions, ultimately leading to improved learning outcomes for all students, including students with complex learning profiles. Furthermore, AI-powered tools can facilitate data-driven decision-making in education, enabling education policymakers to allocate resources effectively and implement evidence-based reforms that benefit the entire education ecosystem. Thus, the integration of AI in education holds the promise of not only enhancing the individual learning experiences, but also driving systematic improvements that will shape the future of education. Respected attendees, it is essential to highlight the significant role that AI can play in the context of Maldives and other countries facing similar challenges. In nations like Maldives, where geographical dispersion and limited resources can pose obstacles to delivering quality education, AI offers a promising solution. Thus, AI-driven technologies such as virtual classrooms, adaptive learning platforms, and remote tutoring systems, we have the opportunity to overcome the barriers of distance and resource scarcity, ensuring that every student, regardless of their location, has access to high-quality education. By leveraging AI to address the unique challenges faced by small island nations similar to Maldives, we can bridge the educational divide and pave the way for a more inclusive and equitable future. As we progress in integrating AI in education, it is essential to acknowledge the digital divide that exists. While AI holds great promise in revolutionizing learning experiences, there are disparities in access to technology and digital infrastructure that must be addressed. More advanced countries have a responsibility to support less advanced nations in bridging this gap by providing assistance in the form of technology, training, and infrastructure development. Collaborative efforts between countries, international organizations, and technology companies can facilitate the equitable distribution of AI-powered educational resources and ensure that all students, regardless of their socio-economic background, have the opportunity to benefit from advancement of AI technology. Before I conclude, I would like to highlight that as we navigate the rapidly evolving landscape of education and increasingly AI-integrated world, it is evident that collaboration, innovation, and equity must be our guiding principles. The potential of AI in education is immense, promising to revolutionize learning experiences, bridge the educational divide, and empower learners worldwide. However, to realize this potential, we must address the digital disparities that persist. As I have said earlier, particularly in small island developing states and countries faced with difficult economic challenges. By fostering international collaboration and support, we can bridge the digital divide, education resources, and provide education resources for all students. Together, we can pave the way for more inclusive, equitable, and resilient education system that prepares individuals to thrive in the digital age and contribute meaningfully to our ever-changing world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. And the Minister from Montenegro. Thank you.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, it is great honor for me to greet you on behalf of the Ministry of Education, Science and Innovation of Montenegro and in my personal name. It is a pleasure to discuss with you so many interesting topics regarding educational system, and artificial intelligence is one of them. It is obvious that educational systems all around the world are undergoing huge changes and facing many challenges. We are witnessing rapid changes on the labor market. Certain jobs are disappearing, while new ones are becoming popular. The highest paid jobs today didn't exist 10 years ago. As a university professor, I must admit that I am a little bit afraid because of the fact that we are educating people for professions that still do not exist. Quite demanding, we must admit. The estimations of the World Economic Forum suggest that about 70% of children starting primary school today will work jobs that do not exist today. I have a look at the list of the professions. Vertical farm planners, desert managers, genetic engineers, 3D body part designers, brain capacity surgeons, water traders, debt planners. I was very excited about this list and about the job descriptions, but also frightened, not only because I'm a university professor, but also because of the fact that I'm a mother. The question is how to prepare students for all these rapid changes. Perform certain tasks faster, more efficiently, and at lower cost than humans. It is the fact that this new revolution will increase our productivity and free time. This sounds great, but it seems we have already issues how to use our free time, especially among younger generations. The question arises: how to use free time effectively and productively? This is one of the key challenges we must face as a society, especially from the educational point of view. A few days ago, I read the book by the author Roger Bootle, The Artificial Intelligence Economy. It's a great book, and I really recommend it to all. The author compares the changes that we are witnessing to those brought about the Industrial Revolution, viewing them as a logical continuation of this process. New jobs replace old jobs, meaning that some professions disappear while new ones emerge. Nothing dramatic or apocalyptic, just something that already happened in the past. It is the fact that artificial intelligence is a very powerful tool and that it may bring a lot of advantages to students, professors, researchers from different perspectives, and most of you actually have pointed some of the most important ones in these 2 days. And we should all use them in order to make our educational system better. But in the same time, it has also many limitations that ensure humans remain irreplaceable because of human intelligence, especially in unplanned and unexpected situations, human flexibility, the fact that humans are social beings, not isolated individuals, and because of emotional intelligence. We should never forget that despite many advantages of artificial intelligence, at the end, man is the measure of all things. This is particularly true and important in education, where empathy and inspiration, uniquely human qualities, play a significant role. In the book that I mentioned before, there is one great sentence that perfectly describes the time we live in. I quote, "Being connected with anyone, no matter how distant, has distanced us from everyone, no matter how close." In other words, we have never been so closer and more connected, but paradoxically so distant from one each other. So, in
currently. Now I'd like to invite the Deputy Minister for Digital Technologies for Uzbekistan to come to the podium. Welcome.
Thank you. Good day, dear colleagues, dear friends. It's a great honor to be on this stage for, I think, third time for the last 5 or 6 years. I see a lot of friends, a lot of beautiful faces we've seen for the last days. And if you don't mind, I want to use digital technologies to go through and make a speech to you. I want to go back to the last year event here in this stage. And a lot of discussions were mostly about education, teachers, and a little bit about the fear about AI technology, which is coming to the rumors and some assumptions and etc. But today, for the last 2 days, we are hearing a lot. Almost any speaker is talking about the AI, how it influences and affects the technology in overall economy and, of course, education. So it's I'm very curious what will be the next year. Because we didn't, for myself, I didn't imagine that this year we will be talking more about AI and digital technologies than education. I just want to make my speech a bit different than other speakers. The speakers talked a lot about the importance of AI, how it influences, so you're overwhelmed with different theories, hypotheses, and everything. So I just want to have one quote. Without clearly knowing your history, you cannot build a bright future. So this is one of our scholars from Uzbekistan was saying. So whatever we are doing, the revolution, whether it's going to be evolution, so we have to go back to the history. And from the slide, you can see, I wanted to ask questions to everybody about each inventions in the world, important inventions in the world, but technically we couldn't do it. But anyways, the telephone was invented in the United States, which is, of course, changed a lot in the world. No one can argue with that. The tea we are drinking every day is coming from China. Printing technologies and the papers are origin from Germany, according to, again, Google and Internet. Football, a lot of arguments in the world, Brazil or United Kingdom, but Internet says it's UK. Of course, if we go back about the history of artificial intelligence, where it goes. So I'm a lazy person, so I asked my artificial intelligence assistant. So how artificial intelligence is related to great scientist Muhammad al-Khwarizmi. So my voice assistant answers, and I'll read it out loud. Muhammad al-Khwarizmi, often considered the father of algebra, made significant contribution to mathematics and astronomy during the Islamic Golden Age. It's 9th century. While AI, as we know it today, didn't exist during his time, his work laid the foundation for algorithms and computational methods, which are fundamentals to artificial intelligence. AI builds upon mathematical principles and algorithms, which have roots to the work of scholars like al-Khwarizmi. So in a broad sense, his contributions to mathematics incredibly indirectly related to AI through computational methods and algorithms that AI relies on today and tomorrow. So we have a history, we have a today, and we have a tomorrow. So this is very important to go back to roots. And we should all understand that today and in the future, AI will make some people's lives easier and more efficient, and some more difficult and challenging. It depends on how people will be adopting it quickly and faster and smarter. So today, the total number of school children in the world is exceeding 1.5 billion. It's a majority part of the population. It's a huge number. And the number of teachers educating, school teachers educating those school children exceeding 60 million people. And the number of students studying in the universities exceeding 200 million people. So this is the future, which needs to be adopted. But what about the today? The people who are working today, who are driving the economy, and the people who are sitting here. Shall we also adapt and do something with AI and these technologies? This is also a very important question we should answer. And those countries, I think, which can quickly adapt to AI realities and transform its economies and education system will have, I think, much bigger advantage. Nobody can argue with that again. It's very important. And in conclusion, to make my team who prepared my speech, I will read the conclusion. Look ahead. The development of AI is likely to undergo significant changes in the coming years, profoundly impacting education system and practices. We can anticipate advancements in natural language processing, adaptive learning technologies, and data analysis, which will enable even more sophisticated, personalized education experiences. AI will become increasingly adept at predicting student needs, identifying potential dropouts, and recommending interventions that keep students on track. This will require education systems to adapt, ensuring that infrastructure are in place, and to support the integration of advanced AI technology, especially for the developing countries and rural countries to adopt this technology. Of course, we need to have infrastructure. We talked a lot about it. Without the proper infrastructure in rural areas, it's impossible. Moreover, we must address the ethical implication of AI. Where are the borders? Nobody knows. That's why we are fearing a lot, because where we should stop or think about the ethics because of the personal data and other things. And ensuring that the issues of data privacy, algorithm bias, and equitable access are forefront of our consideration. So in conclusion, we navigate the complexities of integrating AI into education, AI development to support educational goals, and preparing for the transformative changes that AI will bring in the coming years. We can ensure that technology serves as a powerful tool for enhancing education. So together, we can create an educational landscape where every student, every child has the opportunity to strive and succeed in every evolving world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. I don't know, but I think if the Greek Minister of Education were here, you'd discover that Greece actually invented all those things that you talked about, including football. Charles Radman, if you'd like to take the podium.
So good morning. I will promise you that I will talk about some very controversial things, but it will not be anywhere as controversial as who started football. I promise that to start. So if you'll allow me 30 seconds before I actually get in my presentation, based on the news yesterday, I think many of us were surprised and shocked and very pleased at the same time to hear the news that EWF had a secession plan. I just want to take a very personal moment and say to Gavin and to Dominic a very special thank you. So HP has been a sponsor of EWF back to 2010. HP has been a sponsor back to 2010 of EWF. We have always seen the vision of what this conference is about. We've been very proud to be part of this conference for very many years. When I took over my role a few years ago, Dominic and Gavin were absolutely amazing, helping me transition in my role, but also helping HP be a partner in this conference. And so thank you very much, sir. And we look forward to still many years of your input and your counsel. So that being said, jumping into AI, and one of the things we were asked to look at as part of this presentation is where do we see education in the next 1 to 5 years, and how do we teach resiliency to teachers and to students in this new world of AI? And so when I was asked to look at that, I started to consider just where is education going in the next 5 years? And I was reminded of a UNESCO report that is very stark and is a gray cloud that's hanging over all of us, which is that we're facing a global teacher shortage in the next 5 years of 44 million teachers by the year 2030. Half of those, or 22 million teachers, are teachers who are in the profession today, that there is not someone behind them to come in and fill that slot when they leave. Now that is a stark reality. We heard earlier this morning about the foundational learning needs in Sub-Saharan Africa. Sub-Saharan Africa alone will be short 7 million teachers by 2030. So why are teachers leaving? Well, 55% of teachers who were surveyed said they wanted to leave at the end of the current school year. 80% of teachers feel that they are significantly overworked because there's already shortages in their schools and their school districts. And 78% of teachers say that they are underpaid for the work that they do. Now, if you actually dive into that and look a little bit further, teachers actually do work more than the average. They work 54 hours a week when the global average right now is about 42 and a half hours. So they're already putting in more hours, they're making less pay, and 60% of their time is actually not teaching. It's doing things like administrative tasks that have been asked and pushed down to teachers. It's doing planning, lesson planning, curriculum planning. It's doing grading and assessment, and it's doing communicating. So you may ask, well, how does AI play in all of this? I thought you were supposed to talk about AI in your presentation. Well, AI is going to have a role in all of this. So one of the things that HP has been doing is we've been leading a global education crisis roundtable for several sessions now. And we've been partnering with BET and other organizations to have very serious conversations about this global teacher crisis. So in partnership with BET and with leaders from global NGOs, ministries of education from around the world, global finance, others in the private sector who I'm very pleased to see in this room today, as well as teachers and students, because we can never leave teachers and students out of the conversation. We shouldn't talk about teachers and students. We should talk to and with teachers and students when we talk about education policy. We have created a new white paper, and that white paper is focusing on retaining current teachers, which is critical to help with this teacher shortage. We need to prevent those 22 million teachers who are planning to leave with no one behind them to not leave the profession. We need to address why good teachers are honestly leaving. We need to upskill teachers who are perhaps underperforming today to help retain them and to get the investment back in their training, because it's much easier to retain a current teacher than it is to train a new teacher. So this is where AI can come in, and that can help. AI truly does have the power behind it to unlock a teacher's superpowers. It can take away some of these tasks and let them focus on what they do best, which is focus on teaching. It can automate a lot of these administrative tasks. It can help them with lesson planning and lesson design. It can help them with assessment and with grading. And it can also help them with parental communication and help develop out individualized education plans. We can take away some of that administrative task that they're burdened with and perhaps reduce their workload from 54 hours a week, perhaps down to 44 hours a week. That would greatly impact their lives every single day. They could spend more time with family, more time with friends, more time working on the things that they want to work on, and less time cutting and pasting, which is really what they do today from one application to another. But to make this very successful, you have to have the right plan in place and obviously focus on professional development. I was unbelievably thrilled to hear at the very first plenary session yesterday the Minister of Education from Uganda focus on teachers, and I'm so thrilled to see the teachers have been such a great part of this session so far over the last day and a half. And one of the big things, though, that we need to think about when we talk about teachers is making sure that they're set up for being successful. Now, if you guys have read any of the latest UNESCO reports, so last summer UNESCO came out with a report, 417 pages long, by the way, that said that technology didn't always improve education outcomes, and there were some big challenges with technology and education. Now, I'll be honest with you, from someone from the private sector and from industry, this gave me no unbelievable amount of heartburn and sleepless nights. And I read all 417 pages, not once, but twice, because I really wanted to understand what was behind the findings. And what I found was that they didn't really say that technology was not improving education outcomes. What they said is to actually get the proper education outcomes and to get the benefit from the technology, you had to have a robust plan in place way before you ever deployed the technology. You need to set proper expectations in a realistic timeline. You need to have sustainable funding in place. This cannot be a one and done. Handing out a low-cost Android tablet to teachers and students and expecting that just on its own to impact education outcomes is not going to give you the benefits that you're looking for. That was perfectly clear in the findings. And then, of course, professional development. Upskilling on basic ICT skills is absolutely critical, especially in this world if we're going to be talking about AI. And this needs to be ongoing. It cannot be one and done. We need to create guardrails for teachers. We need to create scaffolding for teachers. These are terms that you guys hear every single day because we do this for students all the time. And it always amazes me that we understand how to teach students, but we don't use the same skills to teach teachers. So we need to make sure we have time-sensitive curricula, and we need to do, yes, assessment. Make sure that they understand so that they can absolutely be successful. Teachers and students should always be at the center of every conversation when you're looking at artificial intelligence, any application with artificial intelligence. We need to make sure we're ensuring privacy and data security. It's aligned rather with education outcomes. It's inspectable, it's explainable, and yes, it's overridable. It cannot be the final decision maker. You are the final decision maker. We need to minimize bias. We need to make sure it's contextually aware, and of course, transparency and accountability. We need to remember that teachers do so much more than teach. They're not just imparters of wisdom and knowledge, but teachers create that human connection. And I hope everyone in the room can look back at your time in school and remember at some point you had a teacher who got you. No matter how strange or weird you were, and by the way, we're all strange and weird in our own special way, but hopefully there was a teacher who got you in your life that you connected with that helped you along the way. I can name 4 right off the top of my head in my own career. But we need that. AI is not going to do that for us. Social emotional learning is critical. It's not just knowledge transfer that a teacher does. And remember, you can't hug a chatbot. So in that, we are faced with, in this crisis, a decision. And we believe that there is a new equity gap or a digital equity gap that's about to emerge. With this teacher shortage, you're going to have to make some very tough decisions. And you want to continue education, but we believe what's ultimately going to happen is that countries with the right economic means or parents with the right economic means will have human teachers who are using AI to teach with, and unfortunately, we're going to have students who are only going to have AI to do the teaching. And I can tell you from someone in industry, that's actually not what we want. We understand the teachers need to be in the classroom with those students. We don't want to see AI replace teachers in any way. So we need to decide in this room, in these ongoing conversations, how we want to proceed. But we don't see that the right future is AI teaching alone. Really quick, moving to students, and then I'll be done. Students, 89% of students who have been surveyed have said that they already use ChatGPT to help with their homework. Let's just acknowledge that. If they're not allowed to use it on their school-provided device, they're going to use it on their personal device at home, or they're going to use it on their mobile phone. So it's already there. Now, is our job to catch them in cheating, or is our job to educate them? And I believe our job is to educate them. So we need to look at different ways to assess knowledge, move away and beyond just high-stakes testing and rote-based learning, and start to look at how we can better empower students in using this new technology. One of the ways that we're seeing this work very well in certain countries is the return of the computer lab. This is a controlled environment where they can actually learn what is AI. How can I play with AI in a safe way? How can I do machine learning? And what's the basis of data science? And how can I become this new thing called a prompt engineer, something that didn't even exist 18 months ago? So last but not least, I want to say that it's been said and it's been repeated, and I think that we are all fearful, and I can tell you even I'm fearful that AI may replace jobs. I was at a conference recently that Sam Altman from OpenAI stood up on the stage and openly said that AI was going to replace jobs, and middle managers, which I am, was going to be one of the first that was going to be replaced. And I have to say, I sat there for a moment and I either said, I need to leave the conference right now and go work on my CV, or I need to figure something out. And what I understood very quickly was that AI is not going to replace jobs on its own. It's workers with AI skills that are going to replace workers without AI skills. This bifurcation is absolutely going to happen. We need to prepare our students for a future that AI is going to be a critical skill that they're going to need to learn. And so we need to figure out how do we adopt it into our classrooms as quickly as possible. If you want to learn more about how HP can help you in this, I encourage you to reach out to myself or any of my colleagues who are here with me today. We can tell you about some of the programs we run, like HP IDEA, our gaming garage, or our brand new AI Education Academy, and we'll be happy to have those conversations. And again, thank you, Gavin, for allowing us to be part of your family for all these years.
Charles, was that word a prompt engineer?
Yes, it's a prompt engineer.
I have never heard that phrase before, and just for the sake of anybody else who may not have heard it either, what is it?
So to work with AI, you have to prompt it. But prompting an AI engine actually takes some skills. You have to know how to ask its questions. You have to know how to get the most out of the AI. So there's this new term now called being a prompt engineer. How can I engineer the right question to get the right answer back?
It's really funny because I was thinking about this exact same thing yesterday after listening to some of the talks, which was that this was the key skill which would distinguish somebody who had high skills from low skills in the field there, but I had no idea there was actually a term for it.
Yes.
So now I know, which is useful to me, maybe of some use to you as well, but I've got something out of it that's very big. We're also speaking on the day when the news has fallen that ChatGPT have had to drop the voice that they're using because the actress Scarlett Johansson says it's too much like hers. And if you think about some of the questions which people have been asking ChatGPT, you can see why you wouldn't necessarily want the answers coming back in your voice. People, as you say, are individually very strange. So we've got time, quite a lot of time now for questions. We've got about 36 minutes for questions. I think it worked better when we took them in batches of 2 and 3. Bear in mind that I cannot see you at the back, but the people with the paddles can see you, the white paddles, just for a moment, if the people with the paddles could wave them so you can see them. One there, one there. That's not a paddle, that's a, yeah, that's a program, but I've got you. And so we'll take them in back. So I want to find out first if there's anybody right at the back, because I always see the people at the front. Okay, it would help me if I did that, wouldn't it? By the way, I also took a trip right to the back for the first time early this morning, and I realised there are people behind the pillar I simply can't see at all, no matter what the light is. So please forgive me. So we have our first person over here, and I've spotted you over here. Please. If you could give your name and where you're from, that would be very helpful. And if you want to direct a question to anybody, that can be helpful too.
I'm Hassan Salem. I'm from Libya, Minister of Education. Thank you so much for your invitation. I highly appreciate your concerns. And brief, you mentioned, I just would like to ask a brief question about how I apply the AI in a safely way. When you said safely way, I really confused of safely way. Is it sort of how a teacher work with AI in a proper way with the students, and don't, like, for example, touch their sensitivities, and, for example, in terms of teaching English as a foreign language, let us say, using ICT, and those implementation and the materials, for example, from New English File, how could I use, for example, the music without cappella? Because the music sometimes touch the Muslim sensitivities. And those sort of AI use alone, I think, I agree with you that is really not a good idea, but with a guidance from a teacher. So the safely way, is it sort of social, or, yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. I think there was a question over here for our friends from Kurdistan. Yes, of course. You've got one there.
I'm Ari Adel, a Chancellor of the Hawk Polytechnic University from Kurdistan region. Well, with the increasing necessity to adapt to AI in education, rising awareness about the ethical use of AI is a shared responsibility among decision makers. This promotes a critical question: to what extent should we rely on AI in educational processes? For instance, while AI can significantly reduce the time students spend writing papers, potentially completing them within a week or less, what are the potential costs associated with this time-saving benefit? And how do we balance the advantages of AI integration with the need to maintain academic integrity, critical thinking, and genuine learning experiences?
Thank you very much. Nice big question there. Yes, over here, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Curtis M. King, and I'm from the beautiful Caribbean country of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. First, let me thank the various presenters for provoking some thoughts. However, I want to ask a question, which I'm going to preface with a quote. I took a book off the table, one of the tables outside, and the very first page, it says, quote, man is still the most extraordinary computer of all. John F. Kennedy, US President. And the Madam Presenter also said, man is the measure of all things. Well, man created the agricultural revolution that moved persons from a nomadic life to a sedentary settlement, if you want to call it that. Man created the industrial revolution that resulted in seismic shift in how we do things. Man also created the computer and all these things that we are talking about. My issue I have is that as far as I'm concerned, I'm sure all of us are concerned, science, technology, and innovation is supposed to be used as a tool that when you apply it should provide solutions to our problems. Therefore, I don't necessarily see what I'm hearing almost every time I attend an activity that deals with these issues. The fear of AI, the potential of AI. At this World Forum, I want us to move away from the generalities. And in fact, in respect, let us move from the macro level. It's good. But let us hear sometimes about the practical application of these things. If you like, call it micro level. We have a wonderful opportunity here where we can share ideas, where we can share best practices. So I want to ask if any of the panel, or perhaps any person here in this gathering, could provide us with, let us say, a program in your respective countries where you have applied AI to deal with a particular challenge that confronts us.
Thank you very much. I had to say, I was wondering some of the same things. Of course, we ask our speakers to speak for only 9 minutes, so it's very difficult for them to give you details about what it is that they have been doing. So if they haven't had the chance to do that, that's a problem with the timing. But they are all available to discuss, and some of them certainly do have programs up and running. But I was wondering very much some of the same things. I mean, for instance, when Charles was talking about the way in which AI could take off administrative burdens or certain kinds of burdens from teachers, there's a similar paradigm in medicine. So one of the claims that's made by people who know quite a lot about the diagnostic use of AI in medicine and so on is the amount of doctor time it could free up to be with patients, because the amount of time that doctors now currently have, general practitioners usually, but even consultants, for appointments with patients has grown smaller and smaller and smaller over the course of the last 30 years. And if you can remove that burden, then they may have much more time. So your question is very well put. So we have those 3 questions from our friends from Libya, from our friends from Kurdistan, and then that question about practicalities from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I wonder, Charles, if you could kick us off and take up what you want to in those questions so far.
Sure. So we work with schools and countries and governments around the world, and I'll give you one practical use of AI today. So instead of banning AI, one particular school decided to adopt it outright, but they decided to actually assign AI as part of the lesson, and it was actually a languages class. And the teacher actually told students that the first draft of their essay had to be actually created in generative AI. And so you had to create the prompt, you had to have it create because you were actually going to research everything that that AI paper created. But the student knew more about that subject, well more, after they went and did that. That is a very practical use today of using AI. It created the idea, it got them started on the path, but then they had to go figure out all the other things around that, and they spent a significant amount of time. They knew that subject way better than they would have originally just simply by doing that.
The implication of that, Charles, for my trade is that the fact checker will know more about it than the journalist by the time they've done the fact checking on one of our pieces. Minister from Maldives.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the lady from this side, she was mainly focusing on the ethical issues of using AI. But before that, I would like to let you know that when we first start using multimedia presentation in teaching, what did happen? What happened was most of the teachers, they were running a multimedia presentation and there weren't much interaction between the students and the teachers. The human component of teaching was totally neglected. That was when we used multimedia presentation. Now we are going to use more advanced type of a technology, artificial intelligence. I would say the most ethical issue that we would face might be removing the human component from teaching. That would be very unethical. So there should be a proper human interaction between the teachers and the students. Teachers should be facilitators for AI integrated teaching. If it doesn't happen, surely we will be facing a lot of ethical issues. Students will be having psychological issues, and they will be having issues that they will face in their future, how to talk with each other, how to interact with each other. Those type of elements will be totally lost from education. So these are some of the ethical concerns that we might have to address while integrating AI in education, especially in younger children. Thank you.
Can I ask the Minister from Montenegro if she has some response?
Yes, I will just give short answers to all the questions. Introducing some elements of artificial intelligence, I think that it is extremely important to do that at all levels of education, because as we know, all the scientific researches show that it is extremely interesting to keep students' attention for a long time. Now we have quite different generations that the generations used to be before 30 or 40 years ago. Their attention and they are focused for 10 or 15 minutes from the primary school to the students. I used to teach at university for 20, 25 years, and even with the students, it is quite difficult to keep their attention. Because of that, introducing some elements of artificial intelligence is important because of the fact that the teaching and learning process may be more interactive, more motivating, more fun, and at the end, more productive, as you mentioned that example. The answer to our dear colleague who mentioned Kennedy and the quote, the man is the measure of all things. As long as we control technologies, we may use all the advantages of artificial intelligence. When we allow that the technology controls us, we are in the problem, and we are lost, actually. Regarding to your question, I think that you mentioned two crucial challenges that we face regarding implication of artificial intelligence in teaching and learning process, because it is important to use artificial intelligence ethically and responsibly in the educational environment. Because of that, it is important to do all these things parallelly, to use artificial intelligence at all levels of education, but in the same time to provide trainings for teachers and for students of data privacy and ethical implications of artificial intelligence. that is the only way to use it appropriately. For example, in Montenegro, we noticed that we have that problem at all levels of education. We have problems regarding using artificial intelligence in a way that is not ethical and that is not according to some ethical and moral standards, to be honest. And because of that, we introduced trainings from the first grade of elementary school in order, together with some IT companies from our country, in order to learn the students and the teachers about cybersecurity, about the importance of using some things from different sources in a way that is ethical, that is moral, how to use all these things and to avoid some problems that may occur and so on. So when we talk about artificial intelligence, all these elements should be introduced if we want to use all the advantages of this process. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. The Minister for Uzbekistan, would you like to respond to some of the questions?
Yes, I thought on what we talked in this session. I think the humanity will never ever be properly or ethically adopt, develop, or use any technology without having basic or natural intelligence. So everything what we do should be built on natural intelligence first, human intelligence first, and then technology above, whether it's AI or any other thing. So whatever will be happening in the future, first we need to focus and pay attention to other important skills humanity should have, and then based on that build any technology or advancement which will ease the people's life, shorten the difficulties, and et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's very important to think about the ethics and basics of the AI development.
Thank you very much. So we start the next round of questions over there. I will come to you, yes, at the front, but at the moment it's beyond.
Hi, thank you. Good morning, and thanks a lot to all the panelists for their brilliant presentation. I'm Talha Chishti, and I'm part of British Council team in Pakistan. Whenever we hear about all those learning and teaching practices about AI, one of the key challenges which actually comes to me is I get scared because I always feel that the developing countries in the last century were struggling to catch up with the technological and the industrial divide, and I now believe that with this thing coming up, probably it gets me scared at how that digital divide will be created, because there are countries, there are places where there is a lot of discussion and all those things are happening about AI. But if I go back to my country, I don't think that discussion is happening at the moment. And with each year, we are actually losing and lagging behind that race. So I just wanted to ask you, and particularly to Charles, that what sort of initiatives which we can take so that we can reduce that digital divide, or could respond to that digital divide so that AI could become a tool for an equitable access to this particular technology and to actually help us overcome that lagging behind challenge. So what are the key steps, what are the key initiatives which can be taken about? And one suggestion from my side would be that you talked about the AI Education Academy HP would like to set up. So I will request that if HP would like to come to Pakistan on behalf of the delegation where I'm sitting with and the provincial minister sitting here with me, we would love to have you to have a first AI Education Academy set up by HP in Pakistan.
Who could resist an invitation like that? Yes, there's a speaker over here. I think you've got the microphone. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning, Andrinaka, Bulavinaka, Selina from the Fiji Islands. 2 questions. We've seen the data that there's going to be 44 million teacher shortage by 2030. Where have they all gone? We know where they're going. We know why they're leaving, but where have they all gone? That's the first one. And the second one is related to the question that was asked earlier about the digital divide and how do we get there. Does this forum have the capacity or the scope to support small island developing states in terms of bridging that digital divide? in Fiji, we have about 92 to 98% of internet connectivity in most of our schools. But for AI to be able to use in a sustainable way, I imagine that there would need to be substantial investment in infrastructure. How do we get there? And is this a forum that can support such initiatives or liaise with other forums like the ministers' meeting last week? This is the first time for me to be here, and I'm just wondering, how do we go on from here to take back home some concrete, okay, this is the way forward for us, and this is something useful, because it's awesome. I'm really pleased that I've chosen to be here today. But then what now from here? Particularly with some very basic questions for a small island developing state like ours.
And we're very glad you're here as well, actually. And I think there was somebody in the... You spotted somebody? Yeah. I think there was somebody in the centre, or there's a woman in the centre with a white shirt. Yeah, can you see her? The white shirt. Yeah, if you could stand up, actually. I'm terribly sorry, but the person with the... yeah, there she... Can you see her now? Oh, no, the microphone's coming her way from the other side. Thanks very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for your attention. And thank you to the panelists. We're all here as educators, and what I'm wondering is why the focus on AI here is apparently only on its potential to improve, is not on its potential to improve our administrative systems. AI has just enormous potential to improve such things as teacher deployment, teacher needs, infrastructure requirements, and our education management information systems. And these kinds of investments could save significant amounts of money that could be then invested in learners and their learning. And I'm wondering why we haven't also addressed that. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. And I'll take a fourth question from over here in the front. Partially because I saw you a long time ago and I'm beginning to feel guilty.
Good morning, David. Thank you very much. I just shifted to this table so you can see me. I'm a part of the Kurdistan delegation, and I hope that the translation for Kurdistan will be Kurdistan. With my respect, they translate it into Pakistan. So we are Kurdistan. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity. I'm happy that you give us our rights better than any other person in the world. We are the biggest nation in the world, have no country. They are not giving us our right. At least you give our right to speak. Thank you, David. I'm just talking about AI. And I know that these esteemed panelists talked about AI. And sometimes we are very afraid about the progress that AI makes to the labor market and the fear that we have for the job loss. But we should not forget that the idea of AI, as the Deputy Minister for Uzbekistan mentioned, back to 1,000 years ago when Khwarizmi just based the principles of an AI. So it was already existed, not in this shape. We have HI, human intelligence. Why should we be so afraid? I just had a conversation with my minister, and he was just telling me about the challenges we are facing in the next 5 years. So it's very important that we should have an excellent plan and organization how to deal with it. I mentioned yesterday to you, remember, we are the most important decision makers for education, higher educations. We need to think about it in an organized way, because the speed change that we have in technology creates uncertainty and anxiety about future employment prospects, how we can secure the employability for the people. Now, our students are in the universities. I'm afraid that we have no students in the class. Otherwise, they say, why should we study then? We will have no jobs after the graduation. So we need to think about it, that this is not the point we should be afraid, but we need to address the fear of AI and jobless in several mechanisms and actions. For example, education and training. We need to know how to make an alignment between the universities and industry to bring the curriculum, link it with the labor market needs. We need to think about it, how to respond to it. This doesn't mean when we are talking about AI, I will be jobless tomorrow. No. If we are thinking in the right way, getting the right skills, everyone will get the job.
I'm very grateful. Can I ask you to formulate a question out of that?
The question is, I am just thinking about, everyone's thinking about the fear of AI as it will get to the job loss in the future. In the next 5 years, how things will be going on. So I said that my understanding is not like this. We need to think about ourselves, how to reorganize ourselves and be ready for it.
Thank you very much indeed. It goes back to your point earlier, Charles. There are some specific questions for you to take up in the answers as well from our friend from Pakistan and others. It's always been the case, it's from my entire life, that the answer to all problems is to get rid of middle management, or that middle management is threatened. And then when people do it, they suddenly discover that everybody else is now having to do the jobs that middle management used to do, and they don't want to. Right. And that coordination breaks down. But maybe that's just a sort of jaundiced view over the years. So Charles, if you could take up the points from those questions that you would like to, that would be great.
Sure. So first of all, thank you for the invitation to Pakistan. We will absolutely have a conversation afterwards. I would love to come visit and have a deeper conversation. So first of all, thank you for that. And you've got my commitment now in front of this entire room. You know, when I think about closing the digital divide, or I think about how our country's going to rapidly, you know, get to a place where AI is a reality in their country. I think about back earlier when we talked about the invention of the telephone. When the telephone got invented, you know, it was a crank, you know, phone, and you had to, you know, call up an operator, and, you know, they would connect you to somebody else. But when that spread throughout the world, the rest of the world didn't start there. They started with wherever the technology was at that moment. They didn't start very back at the very beginning and have to progress all the way up. We did a great study with Brookings. We funded a study with the Brookings Institute on how emerging countries can actually leapfrog into exactly where they need to be. Don't come all the way from the beginning to now. You'll never catch up if that's the way you're going to approach. You'll never catch up because you can't go fast enough. But if you leapfrog, you see where the technology is going next. You see the next thing that's coming out. You work very closely with industry in doing that. Then you start exactly where you need to be and you move forward. That does require investment, of course. That's going to be investment in human capital. That's really what you're investing in, is human capital to make that happen. Certainly infrastructure's got to be in place. Certainly, you know, other things need to be in place. But it's really the human capital that you're investing in. But that's an investment for the future that's going to pay dividends for, you know, decades and decades to come. So certainly I think that's the way you start to look at how do you start to get to that place. How do you get ready and prepared? And don't just work with HP. I mean, there's many of us here in the industry. I think that that's a widespread conversation, but any emerging market needs to look at industry and say, not only where are you today, but where are you going to be tomorrow? What are your needs for tomorrow? And how can we get there with you? And I think that's a very robust conversation. The other thing I just want to say very quickly, you know, every time that something new and emerging comes out, education's first response is, I don't understand it, I ban it, right? Having been part of HP for a very long time, I can tell you we came out with the very first programmable scientific calculator made for education because our CEO at the time had a very strong affinity for education. It was programmable scientific, made specifically for education. Came out in 1972, was not allowed in the classroom until 1984. It took 14 years for that to become okay technology. When the internet came out, we banned it. When Wikipedia came out, we banned it. In fact, a lot of schools still ban Wikipedia, right? That is not the proper approach. We cannot continue to look at technology as being evil. We have to start to embrace technology. That is the only way that we're going to be future ready for our students, our scholars, to make them ready for the workforce that they're going to go into, to these jobs, as you mentioned, that we have no idea what they were going to be. 18 months ago, there wasn't a job called a prompt engineer, right? There is now. We now have a term for it, right? We need to start to think that way.
Can I ask the Minister from Montenegro to respond next?
Yes, I think that you mentioned some very, very important things. Because if we want to introduce artificial intelligence and digital technologies into the educational system, it is extremely important, first, not to teach the students, but to train the trainers or to teach the teachers. Because actually if we want to be honest, most of the problems comes from that point because of the fact that when you want to go into the classroom and to present some new ideas, it is extremely difficult to introduce them because teachers usually have some kind of fear of everything that is unknown. Because of that, that is experience of Montenegro, it is important to train the trainers, to show them that all these elements are just tools that are going to help them to have better teaching and learning process, better learning outcomes, and all other things. So train the trainers, that is necessary if we want to do something with all these digital elements. In Montenegro, we had some problems because of the fact that we had a great strategy of digitalization, a very, very important document that was adopted by the government, and very good strategy, very good activities, and everything else, but in the real lives we had a problem because we don't have any digital equipment in most of the schools. So it is important to have the strategy and to have the law, but without having appropriate digital tools, it is not possible to implement anything. That is why we initiated the realization of the project that was called Digital Revolution in order to provide adequate equipment for all elementary and secondary schools in Montenegro, to have at least 2 or 3 labs, and to have adequate ICT equipment in every classroom, in every school, because without that it is not possible to talk about strategy of digitalization at all. Regarding teachers, we have problems everywhere, I think, in the world, because there is a lack of interest for teaching profession. In Montenegro, for example, we have problems when we talk about teachers of STEM. And if we do not do something, if we do not find and realize some measures in order to motivate best students to enroll to faculties of maths, physics, and chemistry, we may be without teachers of STEM disciplines.
Thank you very much indeed. Can I ask the Minister from Uzbekistan?
Yeah. To continue the thesis of Your Excellency, the role of government is very important here, because digital divide is more important, and why most of the education leaders here are afraid is because of it's very difficult to convince finance people in the country to invest into digital infrastructure. We went through it like 5 years ago. It was very difficult because I used to be the Deputy Minister of Education, responsible for digitizing 10,000 schools we have. And it was very difficult to convince finance people, explain economical effect of investing in digital infrastructure. So the role of government here is very important. So education leader must convince the leadership of the government and the finance people to invest in the digital infrastructure to reduce the digital divide and economic divide. So it's very crucial. We went through it. It was difficult to the economy, but today we are seeing the results. All 10,000 schools are connected to high-speed internet. No matter what technology arises today, young generation is equipped and have the equal access to new technologies. So, which is very important. So the education people must convince finance people and show the economic effect of the investing in education. I think it's also a very important topic.
Thank you very much. And the last word in this session goes to the Minister from Maldives.
Thank you very much. I would focus on the digital divide issue. When it comes to digital divide, especially countries like Maldives, where we have a very huge geographical dispersion, and I know there are countries in other parts of the world with similar challenges like ours. I would say I would totally agree with the Deputy Minister from Uzbekistan, money matters. Without financing, we will never be able to provide infrastructure. We will never be able to buy content from the content developers, the big companies. And if we can't do that, then definitely we will never be able to integrate AI in education, especially in economically disadvantaged countries. So where will we get money? Economically disadvantaged countries, they don't have money. There are other important areas to be addressed in such countries. They have to minimize the number of people below the poverty line, and they have to provide education for women and young girls. Other important issues are there. So I think to address the digital divide, the most important thing that we can do is to establish an international platform where the rich countries, the big tech companies would offer their help to less advantaged countries. Without doing so, we will never be able to break the barriers of digital divide and establish a good platform for establishing AI in education.
Thank you very much. I think that's a perfect way to end. Can I thank you for your questions very much and thank the panel for a truly excellent session. I think that was really very interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, panel, and thank you, David, again, for organising. Thank you for your questions, too. And I'll just, if I may, say a quick answer on the question from Fiji about our ability to support. I think the EWF's ability to support really is in using the opportunity to speak to the people here, to exchange notes with the people here, whether they be from the organizations who are here with us, whether they are from different countries, or whether they are working for the partners and sponsors who have supported AI. But I think that's the way it works. I don't think we have capacity in and of ourselves, but I think the capacity is probably in the room here somewhere. I also just want to say, having mentioned our partners and supporters, you know out there, and you're going to enjoy a refreshment break in a minute, I hope, but do visit our partner stands. They are showing new things. They're asked to share more information, and it's about sharing information. It's not about transactional things. This is really to kind of build relationships and learn from them. So do take that opportunity. And for example, Appliances and Intel are working to identify where connectivity is poor and using the combination of their technologies to build and make the most of low bandwidth solutions to help those particular countries that need that kind of thing, or areas. Qualcomm and Avantis are demonstrating where virtual reality is today, and that virtual reality is something, I have memories of what it looked like 10 years ago, and it's not the same today. So do have a look, pop into their stand, and begin to understand and think about its applicability to education and to educational solutions. And with that, I ask you to be back here at 11:45, but now do enjoy your refreshments and look forward to seeing you back here for the next plenary session. Thank you.